Not quite. I'm just going to log it.
That's okay. I'm just going to watch this brilliant slideshow. Amazing slideshow.
Kelly, could you check and see it? Okay. Okay. We'll just have to speak up. See it on here, City Orion.
City Orion. It's just now here. Ooh.
Ooh la la.
Here we go.
Look at that. Ghostmobile.
Ghost. And then we'll speak up. It's so weird there's so much of a delay.
I know. Yeah, you gotta like really not pay attention.
Oh, you know, I'm cut off on Instagram, guys.
Slide over.
Closer to you. I gotta get closer to this. What's up?
I guess there's a little room to rotate. Fine.
I'm okay now. I slid over. It doesn't show me slide over.
Ah, that helps.
No, that was like that arm that's kind of stuck out of the. There we go. Okay, now I'm in it. Oh, and you can see the car better too. Okay. Look, there's a nasty reflection though because the TV above my head. That's it. All right. Let's start. It'll be fine.
You happy now?
No, I'm not.
I'm not very happy. Do you have a question? No. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Sort of.
Sort of. I'm ready. Oh, I'm not ready. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at the Speed Traveler. This is round 10 review of the Formula One World Championship. Charlie, there is so much to talk about in this race weekend. More than just the incident. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on. Before we get into all that, you know, one of the things that has been asked is, well, what is the Speed Traveler? And I figured, you know, who better to tell everyone what the Speed Traveler is than you?
Yeah. Well, we started the Speed Traveler a few years ago, and our mission was to get out there and enjoy the road. We find some awesome cars. We try and pick a new road that we've never been on, and then we have a camera follow us around and document it, which has really turned out to be really fun and exciting. And it's just kind of getting rolling now. We have, I think we're working on Best Roads video number 5 right now. The only one that's out right now is Mulholland, Best Roads Mulholland. The other ones we're waiting to put them all out in succession, so you can binge watch them. Not that anyone's going to like binge watch it.
How can anyone possibly not get a
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's also LA Tours, which was going to only be one episode, but as we realized, it's going to take a lot more than just one episode to talk about everything that is Los Angeles.
Yeah, so you can check out on our YouTube channel. Please like it. I always feel like I'm pouring myself out when I say that, but please like and subscribe because we have a lot of amazing automotive content. Like you said, LA Tours is, since we're from LA and people are always asking us where do we go when we're in town visiting Hollywood or whatever, so we decided to take a Ferrari and a Cadillac, which is right behind me, and go hit some of the best spots in LA. So check that out. It's on our YouTube channel, The Speed Traveler. But back to the race.
I mean, what a weekend. I mean, first, before we even get to the race, this was the first time that they tested out a sprint qualifying, they call it. It's a race. I mean, everyone knows it's a race, but they won't call it a race. Sprint qualifying format. Even though there was qualifying before the sprint qualifying.
On Friday.
On Friday. There was qualifying on Friday for the sprint qualifying event on Saturday for the qualifying for the race on Sunday.
Right.
And it also had a huge effect on tire allocations. I mean, the way they allocate all the tires was a lot different. And honestly, it needs tweaking. And I want to hear what you have to say, but I liked the sprint race. I thought it was really cool. I liked how they all raced the tires, literally raced the tires off the cars, from the front of the grid to the back of the grid. I thought it was really exciting to watch. We saw some great action. I mean, once again, Fernando Alonso just drove the wheels off his Alpine and did a great job in qualified very well for the sprint event, and then did really well in the sprint race event, and then really well in the race moving forward all the way through. But Ocon, his teammate, also did a really good job through the weekend almost matching Fernando. So that was kind of cool.
And back to the format, I think it is a great format because I wanted to watch on Friday because I wanted to see what happened in afternoon qualifying or whatever we call it now. So it gave me a reason to watch Friday afternoon. And it definitely gave me a reason to watch on Saturday. I really wanted to watch the sprint race or the sprint, F1 sprint on Saturday. So I think it's a smart decision because it's getting more market share. They're getting people to tune in now on Friday, which, on practice on Friday would be kind of boring. So now you have a reason to tune in all 3 days. So it's a really pretty smart commercial idea. So now you have a reason to tune in all 3 days.
It's not a bunch of, they're not driving around just seeing what stuff worked for qualifying. They're actually out there qualifying on Friday.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. It makes the weekend of racing from a spectator, from a TV aficionado, wherever you're watching. If you're a couch potato watching the racing, it's a great way to watch. If you're at the track, I think it makes the weekend that much more interesting. So I'm really excited to see what tweaks, because I think there's something to be made that they make in future events that feature the sprint format.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. It gives you 3 days of stuff to watch. Before we go any further, though, and we're going to go back to the sprint in a second, but I'm already getting questions about our opinion about Hamilton and Max. So
and you're going to like our opinions, I think. I haven't told you my opinion.
No, I haven't told you.
I actually told Kelly.
Okay,
And
so
she knows.
if
She
you want,
was shocked when I said what I said.
if you want to ask a question, if you've got a comment, keep it clean, please. But if you've got a comment about the Max and the Hamilton first lap incident, shoot it to us right now, and we'll make sure to address it during the broadcast. But
I'm curious what the poll is like on the viewership and just across the globe on who was at fault, if either of them. I mean, sure, they both collided, but were they both really at fault, or was it a racing incident?
So send us your comments, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So qualifying on Friday was pretty interesting. I mean, Hamilton outdid Verstappen in the qualifying run. Bottas was third. Leclerc was fourth. Perez moved forward in qualifying, which is good to see. It was fifth place. And then there was the McLarens of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, which was really good to see. And George Russell.
Yeah, amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow, Mr. Saturday became Mr. Friday, as Martin Brundle would like to call it.
He really did. In the Williams car, which the Williams car is getting better, but he definitely, he manhandled that car around. That's an amazing, epic result to get in the top 10.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard to argue that George Russell isn't at the top of the game in Formula One, at least on qualifying.
Right.
I mean, maybe not as aggressive as other drivers in the race, but he's definitely one of the best drivers in the pack, in my opinion.
And his outright speed is really amazing. He hasn't maybe quite put it together for an entire race. Part of it is the car, because the Williams obviously is not that great.
Right.
But, one lap, I mean, he is right up there at the top. He probably deserves the seat next to Hamilton at Mercedes.
Absolutely.
And if I was Bottas,
I'd be a little nervous.
I'd be a little nervous,
Yeah, but it's the thing is I think his race pace is not quite as fast as others because he's less willing to take some of those risks that we saw in lap one of the race this past Sunday. George Russell has not really put a wheel wrong his entire F1 career, not just this year or last year. His entire F1 career, we saw a lot of new drivers come up, and all they did was make mistakes. I mean, quite frankly, I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm going to say it right now. I'm a Ferrari fan. Leclerc is making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Throw the wheels off the car again this past weekend.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But qualifying was great. I think for me, two things that stood out. One is I was shocked to see Hamilton on the pole, or at least on the fastest qualifier on Friday. Let's say that because Max has just been running the gamut on everyone so far for the last 5 races. So people were expecting Max to be 3/4 of a second faster. That didn't happen.
That did not happen at all.
I guess Mercedes had brought some new parts for this race.
How could they not?
Yeah, how could they not? It's the British Grand Prix. So they brought some upgrades, and obviously that worked.
Right. And it's interesting, though, the sprint race is a great precursor for what happens in the Sunday race as far as the front row is concerned. Max Verstappen was sitting P2 at the start of the sprint qualifying. Can I call it a race? Can I just call it a race?
Yeah, let's just call it a race.
Because I keep wanting to call it something else, and it's just a race. So Hamilton was in front, P1 for the sprint race. Verstappen was P2, and Verstappen made the move on the lap 1 to get to P1, and then the first lap was very exciting.
Verstappen's green light was amazing.
Unbelievable.
He was just on fire. What was crazy enough, you noticed a little bit of flame coming from his front left wheel, but that was gnarly.
I cooked a steak. The time that thing was on fire.
And if anyone didn't see that Saturday, he really warmed up the brakes on that warm-up lap for the sprint. And on the grid there, he had some flames coming out. I'm sure he was dying waiting for the green. But when the green came, he pegged it and beat Hamilton turn 1.
Oh yeah, and it was awesome to see. It was awesome to see the sprint race happen because again, like I mentioned before, they drove the tires to the ground. There was no baiting the tires. It was only 17 laps, so it's full throttle, one stint, and they really drove the wheels off the car. And I have to give a nod to Fernando Alonso. It was pretty impressive. He started, I think, P11 in the sprint race. And by the end of lap 1, he was P5.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Now, he started on red tires where everyone else was on yellows, on sticker yellows. He started, amongst other riders, Kimi Räikkönen,
Bottas
on red tires. Bottas did not make good of those red tires.
No,
he started at the front of the race and didn't go anywhere. No offense, Bottas, awesome driver. But just, I think he's just doing due diligence and being the number 2 driver. And he's succumbed to that fact, and he's comfortable there. Kimi Räikkönen started the sprint race. He was moved up, I think, 4 places. And great start for Kimi Räikkönen on the reds. They both faded a couple spots, but it really pushed them forward for the start of the big race on Sunday.
And to the finish of that sprint race, once Max got the lead, that was about it. There was some interesting battles in the back with Alonso, but Max got the lead, and they both started blistering the tires. I don't know if you caught that. Hamilton got close, and what was crazy about last weekend is Hamilton had 206 miles an hour through traps. Max was only like 199.
Yeah, well, so slowest versus fastest.
So I thought Hamilton would be a little quicker in the sprint, but he couldn't get near him because of the turbulence coming off of Max's car and the 50 degrees track temperature Celsius was too hot and blistered tires.
And I think that temperature was a big factor in a lot of other things that happened throughout the weekend, particularly in the pit stops in the race on Sunday, because pit stops played a big role in the race on Sunday. But before we even get to the pit stops, we're moving on to Sunday. We have the Schlamazel of the year. What do you want to call it? That shouldn't be a Schlamazel. It wasn't a Schlamazel. It was it wasn't the James Hunt. It was the conflict. The conflict of the year. Our good buddies now going to be enemies from now on.
It's crazy how everyone is talking about this. I was walking down the beach an hour ago, getting ready to come in here, and I was talking to my buddy about the race, and some guy on the bike path walking the other way was like, "It was Hamilton's fault." And all night on social media, oh my God, it was a blaze. But I'll let you start.
Well, I was going to just say, what are you reading over here? Are we getting a read on whether it was Hamilton's fault, Bottas's fault, Verstappen's fault, or was it a racing incident?
It looks like it's leaning about 70% Hamilton's fault, 75%. And I'd say, in my opinion, I don't know your opinion yet, but let's go back to the start. So off the line, Max didn't get the jump that he got in the sprint race.
Lewis learned something
from the sprint. He did, and they were close. Max held on to the lead, and then the next 3 quarters, it was a battle royale.
What a dogfight!
It was really quite amazing. Hamilton was in second, going into cups. He was trying to get down the inside. Max moved over to the middle of the road, which he's allowed to do. He did his racing move. Hamilton, surprisingly, went even lower and went down to the wall. And then they go around cups, turn 9, and there's a picture of it up here on the screen. But in my opinion, they were going for it. You know, it was all out war. I think Hamilton felt that if he didn't take advantage at the start, he was never going to catch, because the day before, once he got in the turbulence of Max's car, his tire blistered. He couldn't get any closer.
And I think it was warmer on Sunday than it was on Saturday.
It was 30 degrees Celsius, which was about 87 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temperature was 50 degrees Celsius, which is 120. So it was 120 plus. So it was cooking. So I feel like Hamilton felt he had to do it there. That's my side of it so far. I'll turn it over to you.
Well,
before we start judging blame and percentage.
I have to go ahead and kind of use the historical machine. I'm going to use the George Orwell time machine. I got to go back a few years back. The last time we saw Hamilton go down to the grass of the paint and try to make that really tight inside pass, he took out his teammate in 2016, Nico Rosberg, who then went on to win the championship. I think Lewis was feeling that exact same kind of pressure. So we saw, I think, a different kind of aggression out of Lewis Hamilton.
Agreed.
I think he learned from that year, 2016, when he and Nico collided. I also have to look back to the Austrian Grand Prix. I say racing incident. It's let them race. I mean, do we want to watch a parade or do we want to watch a race?
Did you want Lando versus Perez?
Yes.
Austria,
So, in Austria, we saw Lando Perez kind of go at it a bunch of times.
Perez and Leclerc.
Perez and Leclerc, so when penalties were assessed. And I honestly felt like those penalties also should not have been assessed.
Yeah.
I really feel let them race. If we want to see side-by-side racing, let's see some side-by-side racing. I'm leaning on the side that yesterday's incident was a racing incident. Qualifier, cops, 180 miles an hour.
Right.
Missing the line by a meter at least.
Yeah.
By a meter at least. Hamilton was way off.
For sure.
So
I think that Hamilton was down on the inside. Even if Max wasn't there, I don't know if Hamilton would have stayed in bounds, because he was entering into corners so shallow. There's no way he was carrying that type of speed. So, I mean,
he was taking him out no matter what. Let me rephrase. Contact was going to ensue no matter what. Because I feel like Max left enough room on the outside for Lewis to have room, not even going onto the paint, not even going onto the rumble strips, the red and white stripes on the inside. Yeah. He could have just gotten to that painted area and had plenty of room. He didn't make it there.
Yeah,
wash.
And he didn't get out of the throttle, and so they're both going for it, which we love to see. The result was a disaster for Max. I mean, that was a huge hit, 51 Gs.
Oh, I hope he comes back in 2 weeks, because that's a big hit.
It's a big hit.
Pilots
may not be back in 2
Pilots
weeks.
are grounded for less than that. These guys are absolutely jet fighter pilots.
Yeah, 51 Gs is a gigantic hit. So back to the incident. In my opinion, it was 75% Hamilton's fault, 25% Max, because Max didn't give him much room. He turned in on, but Hamilton wasn't going to make the corner. And at the end of the day, Hamilton's left front hit Max's right rear. So generally, that's the person's fault, They
were not side by side.
They were not side by side as Hamilton's right.
So, but we're race car drivers. We're not racing Formula One cars. We are racing touring cars. We're on the track with some regularity. If I'm in a heated battle for a race, I might go for that hole, man. I don't know that I lift. Yeah. If I'm Lewis Hamilton in the wheel, I don't think I lift either. Yeah. I mean, I look at it this way: Max, you're on the outside, buddy. I'm on the inside.
Agreed.
If anyone's going to go off track, it's going to be you. I'm sad to see it was at 51 G impact.
Yeah.
Hate that stat, but I still go for that turn.
Agreed. I think Ayrton Senna said if you're a race car driver and you no longer go for the gap, you're no longer a race car driver. So I'm with you. I mean, I think it's easy to kind of hate on Hamilton because he's been so victorious for so many years.
Right.
But you're right. It was a racing incident. It is what it is. It was probably 75% Hamilton's fault. But, Max had something to do with it as well.
Absolutely.
So on to the race. The big beneficiary of that, Charles Leclerc was able to take the lead
from before.
Yeah, from before.
So first he makes a good pass on Bottas.
Right.
Once again is just protecting the car probably and getting to the finish line, doing the journeyman work as the number 2 driver. But Leclerc made that pass to get into 3rd place. And honestly, if you go back and watch the video a little bit, you actually see Leclerc back off from that battle a little bit right before Cox. I think he's seeing that those guys are going to come together, and all he has to do is wait for them to actually do it. Yeah. And I think Leclerc probably saw the writing on the wall with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leclerc saw it coming. He did a great job. There was about a 25-minute red flag situation. They went back and had to restart again. So it was the 3rd standing start in a weekend at the British Grand Prix. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. And it was, I was worried. I thought Hamilton was just going to blow by Leclerc at the start of the restart.
Yes.
And Leclerc held his ground, and he did great.
And I think that has a lot to do with what we previously discussed, in that the wash, but behind the aero wash when you are the following car was just too much. You just could not deal with the aero wash, the heat.
Agreed.
He couldn't get right behind him, so he couldn't really utilize the track or DRS.
Yeah.
Even though the Ferrari, more so than the Red Bull, is showing very good straight line speed.
Yeah, it really is. So it's funny, the Red Bull was a little down on straight line. They were making it up in the fast corners, and the Mercedes was fastest down the straightaway and fastest in the slow corners. And obviously the Ferrari was fast down the straightaway.
Yeah. So super exciting, in that respect. Did the race itself after the incident, it was a little bit of a parade. I mean, we saw some Raikkonen jumping from 13th on the grid to 9th place on the track. So a great start from Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo. It's great to see him taking that vehicle and doing a very good job with it. And I see Giovinazzi. This is what I love about this weekend is Ocon stepped it up and raced just about as well as Alonso, and Giovinazzi stepped it up and raced just about as well. He's been giving Kimi Raikkonen some fits throughout the year, but I think at some point Kimi just says, like, I'm done. I'm waiting for my ice cream. But they're stepping it up. These number 2 drivers are stepping it up and doing a great job. And that's what's making the middle pack racing kind of exciting.
Oh, agreed. The middle pack's good. But back to the front, there was a little bit of drama. Leclerc on lap 15 started complaining about an engine cutout. And then again, a couple laps later, he was complaining about an engine cutout. And so it definitely added a lot of drama because, he was freaking out. You heard his leading the race. And so, that was
a nightmare being relived. How many times have you seen, the car's fine. You get the pole at Monaco. No, it's not even that.
So the first round of pit stops, we had Lando in first.
Yeah, lap 22, and that was a schlemazel.
Yeah, it is. And it was a 6-second stop. They couldn't. I think
he's running a real P3.
Yeah,
real P3. Yeah, he was. And should have been battling for that. And again, heat. Heat was a major issue.
Getting those wheel nuts on and off. Yeah, we saw it again and again. We saw it a little later. I was going to get to it later, but with Carlos Sainz had a 12-second stop. The same problem with the heat. But so Lando stopped first. Once Lando had his mess up, the team with the 6 seconds, Bottas came in the next lap because they knew they had an advantage there. So Bottas was in and out, 2.2 second stop, and they got out and just in front of Lando, and just behind, he got out just behind Alonso, but passed him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that was a good little battle for a little while between Alonso, Lando, and it was the third one. And it was Bottas.
Yeah.
But that was a good little battle for a while. And then I got a couple other notes here. So then Hamilton stopped lap 27. He was able to stretch that set of tires for 27.
Right.
He served his 10-second penalty. Yeah. And then came out. And then the Ferraris at that point were one. If you know Tifosi fans, Ferrari fans out there, Ferraris were 1-2 at the British Grand Prix after Hamilton stopped.
Yeah.
It looked pretty cool. So those guys were able to stretch. Once again, the Ferraris were very easy on their tires. It's a characteristic we see over and over this year with Ferrari.
They've done really well. They seem to operate great on the medium compound, the yellow compound. We're not very good with the hard compound.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for whatever reason, the Ferrari's not sticking so well with the hard compound. near the end of the race, Lewis Hamilton was able to drive his car. I mean, he was driving the wheels off that car. Talk about a drive.
Yeah,
He
no, it was amazing.
hammering that car. And Leclerc was doing everything he possibly could, but was still a second slower lap.
Yeah.
You know, fresh tires, hard compound on fresh tires for Lewis, hard compound on Leclerc.
Yeah.
Tough go.
It was tough. I mean, ultimately, Hamilton reeled him in a second a lap. I was thinking that maybe it was going to slow down once the tires got a little more worn, but Hamilton just kept hammering it. I mean, he had 140,000 people cheering for him in the British Grand Prix.
And he gave them what they wanted.
He did.
You know, it was awesome to see all those fans in the stands.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was so exciting.
On lap 50, he ultimately did catch him. And Leclerc made it pretty easy for him. I mean, Leclerc just didn't have an entire left. Or like you said, the hearts just didn't work on the Ferrari well. But, you know, Hamilton made short work of him.
Yes, and I think Leclerc knew the writing was on the wall. Once Lewis got there was not a whole lot he could do.
Yeah.
He needed the second place because that battle in the Constructors' Championship between McLaren and Ferrari is very, very tight. As it also is between Mercedes and Red Bull now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is super tight in the Constructors' Championship, first and second between Red Bull and Mercedes, and third and fourth between McLaren and Ferrari.
Yeah, and to your point, Perez had a very difficult weekend. In the qualifying, he was fifth on Friday. On Saturday, he spun, and then basically that put him at the back of the pack. So he started the race last in the pits. He needed a wing change. And basically, you know, Perez was nowhere. I mean, he was caught midfield. You know, he had some battle with Alonso for a while. He just couldn't get it there. And then at the very end, a strategic point, Christian Horner pulled him in, and they put him on a new set of tires with 2 laps to go out and take that point away from Hamilton.
Very
You
savvy.
get 1 point for the fastest lap of the race if you're in the top 10. And they weren't in the Perez wasn't in the top 10, but it was a good move to go out there and not give Hamilton that point because Hamilton had the fastest lap.
Agreed, and that was a great move on them to bring Perez in and steal that point away because the championship is just that close. I think they're separated by 8 points.
I think so. Yeah.
So super, super tight, you know. And so back to the incident. Let them race. Racing is the incident. Let them race. Yes, the blame falls on Lewis's shoulders, in my opinion, for the contact, but it's racing. It's racing. We want to hear your comments. We have, in 2 weeks' time, we have another great race, the Hungaroring in Hungary. August 1st is the Sunday race, and I really hope Max makes the start. It could be questionable with that 61G impact.
51. But
51,
still, yeah.
still.
But in that race, it suits the Red Bull. So you would think he's going to do everything he can to be there.
Absolutely.
So we didn't really talk about the one quick thing is the aftermath of the race. Hamilton was up on the podium spraying champagne. Apparently, he didn't realize that Max had been helicoptered to the local hospital. So it would have been nice if someone had mentioned that to him. And then maybe he would have been a little more mellow on the
party line. How do you not know?
Yeah,
How do you not know?
But apparently Max and Christian Horner were not very happy with Hamilton because of the celebration after the race.
Yeah, squirt the champagne. Spray the Ferrari champagne all over the place. It's a podium. Lay champagne.
All right. Do we have time for one or two quick questions? Let's see what we got here. Then it's split about evenly, even between people.
How about the hate mail?
Okay, we got Boo Hamilton here.
Boo Hamilton.
Yeah. You know what? I did have a question. Believe it or not in regards to this incident. It was, do we think Russell's going to take Bottas' seat before the end of the year?
Let's pose that question to you, and we'll find out what the results are in 2 weeks' time. We review round 11 in Hungaroring. This has been a phenomenal F1 series. And Charlie, I can't wait to reconvene for the next race.
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Don't forget to put your comments on YouTube, on the Speed Channel. Like it. Please subscribe to it. Put your comments on there, and we'll reply to them. Now I think we're off to Mel's Mel's driving.
Did you have a question?
There's one question.
Yeah.
Your comments.
Who's your favorite driver? All right, put us on the spot.
Who's our favorite? Now, are we saying favorite driver because we have a passion for them, or are we saying favorite driver because we think they're the best in the field?
Yeah, we say
Best
current
movie.
driver or all time.
I'm thinking current probably.
All right,
Current driver?
current and all time. Go.
Wow, current driver. You know, I gotta tell you, I'm a Kimi Räikkönen fan. I love the guy's dry humor, but I am so digging the way George Russell is driving that car, showing maturity. I'm gonna put George Russell in that box.
And all time? Kimi. It's your all time. Okay.
Probably Kimi,
Okay.
but he's still current, so maybe I need to pick somebody else.
I'll take, for all time, I think I have to go with Michael Schumacher because I feel like he was able to get the most out of every car and his technical ability was really quite amazing. A current driver, yeah, I like that. For a current driver, I would say Max because I feel like Max has been the bridesmaid for 5 years and he's had to dig and dig and dig and dig.
Yes.
And now he's finally getting the results.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, guys.
Well, thanks again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when we review the Hungaroring Formula One race, August 30. We'll review it August 2nd.
Thanks for watching, guys.